on page 7. That's too low. Page 7, the third one. Ma yafeh hayom. How beautiful is this day? It is a beautiful day. The weather seems to justify saying that, right? Shabbat shalom. The third one on page 7. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Just seemed like the right way to start our service today, even though I didn't quite know the chords of the tune, but hopefully it did the trick. I'd like to invite Beth to come up and light Shabbat candles for us. Isn't it interesting that the way the light changes? In the middle of the winter, we're like, we're going to light Shabbat candles even though it's already Shabbat. And now we're like, we're going to light candles even though we don't really have to yet. It's still light out, but we're going to light the candles anyway. She's going to say the blessings. I'm going to light them because she doesn't like lighters. Amen. Thank you. Shabbat shalom. Page 8. I don't think I've used this tune here before. But I have talked about how you can read the Psalms as a practice. So we're going to sing the first 4 lines, and then there's a niggin, and then we'll sing the first 4 lines again. Lechu neranena l'Adonai nariya letzur yisheinu nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nariya lo aina 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 yana aina aina yana aina aina yana aina 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 yana aina aina yana aina aina yana aina. I got lost in the tune. Nadiya letzur yisheinu nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nariya lo. All right, more familiar tune on the bottom, page 9. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiramayam, Yiramayam, Yiramayam umlo'o. Yiramayam, Yiramayam, Yiramayam umlo'o. Yiramayam, Yiramayam, Yiramayam umlo'o. Yiramayam, Yiramayam, Yiramayam umlo. Back to the beginning. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, betagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, betagel haaretz. It says, let the heavens rejoice. Maybe it's not let it, it's just the heavens will rejoice. The idea of actual nature being happy, right? And it says, before God who comes. But like for nature, God's always there, right? It's just us who have this sense that like we're somehow something different, something separate. Page 10 on the bottom, Or zarua latzadik. Light is sown for the righteous. Remember that. That'll come back. Or zarua latzadik. Ole yishrei lev simcha. Or zarua latzadik. Ole yishrei lev simcha. שמחו צדיקים באדוני, והודו לזכר קודשו. שמחו צדיקים לאדוני, והודו לזכר קודשו. אור זרו על הצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרו על הצדיק, ולאישרי לב שמחה. Top of page 12. Sing praise to Adonai with the kino, whatever instrument that is. Maybe you know this tune by now, or you're good at picking up the tune so you can sing along, but this would also be a good time to just let the sound wash over you and read some of the lines of the Psalms, see what hits you, see what lands in you as right. Zamul Adonai bechino, bechino vekol zimra. Zamul Adonai bechino, bechino vekol zimra. Zamul Adonai bechino, bechino vekol zimra. Zamul Adonai bechino, וכל זמרה. זמול אדוני בכינו, בכינו וכל זמרה. Bottom of page 13. Page 13 at the bottom. Exalt Adonai our God and bow towards God's holy hill. That's an interesting translation. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu el har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu el har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu el har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu el har kodsho. Page 1415. Some people stand up for this part. If that's your practice, feel free. You don't have to. Just in case that is your practice, don't feel funny about it. We're going to sing it all through to this tune. Here we go, starting with the second line. Habul Adonai b'nei Elim, Habul Adonai kavod va'oz, Habul Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim Adonai al mayim rabim, al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, vayishaber Adonai את ארזי הלבנון, את ארזי הלבנון, מעיין קידם כמו עגל, לבנון וסיריון, כמו בן רעמים, כמו בן רעמים. כל אדוני חוצב לבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש. כל אדוני יחולל איילות, יחולל איילות, מה יחשוף יערות ובהיכלו, כולו אומר כבוד, כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למבול ישב, ישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוזה לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, את עמו בשלום. נה 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 יא נה 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 יא נה 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 נו יא נה 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 נו. Page 16. We feel welcome, ready to welcome in Shabbat. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. First verse. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, בשם מול תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 2. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Let's go to the top of the next page, verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Let's go to the bottom of the page, please rise. As you are able, face the entrance. Welcome in the Shabbat bride. Embarrass anybody who comes in late. Bring in Shabbat with them. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Can I have a seat? And let's sing a song for Shabbat. Mizmor Shir Liyom Shabbat. On the next page, page 18. Right? מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. And you see it's the last four lines, well, it's right where we left off before. כי שימחתני, same tune. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד, עמקו מחשבותיך. שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, דול זמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון. And at the indentation, צדיק אתה מה יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי צורי ולא עוולה תעבור. We continue on to page 24 for the Baruch Hu. The words aren't in here yet. We'll do the Baruch Hu in a moment. Might as well stand up now, slowly, as you are moved. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, my dear one, Shekhinah, holy name, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Please have a seat. I'm choosing. Page 27 at the top. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide and time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise are you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. We were just learning in our Kabbalah class about the balance between Netzach, which is eternity, and Hod, which is this very moment, right? And this little bit, this little English response to the prayer on page 26, right, just places us right there in the flow of time as we are here in this transition into Shabbat. חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הערבי. Page 28. Everlasting love you offered your people, Israel. Let's sing at the top of page 28. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Please join me with the Shema on page 30. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Page 32. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. This whole section of the Shema and its blessing is taking us from the recognition of reality, the appreciation of reality, right? With the blessing, first blessing is for light and for creation. And the second blessing, which is about love, is about our particular relationship with deity as Jews. And the Shema and the Vahavta is about how we actually enact that, right? The blessing before it is an appreciation of what comes to us, Torah and love. And the Shema, the listen, the notice, the ed, bear witness of the Shema, and the Vahavta, the love that we give back in remembering the commandments. As we go into this blessing here, page 34, 35, 36, is a blessing that's for redemption. It's for that which has not yet been, the perfection of the world that we are seeking for, that we are praying for, that we work towards. But as is our way, when we talk about future redemption, we do it by remembering past redemption, which is why we quote Michamocha, who is like you, which is the verse that the children of Israel sang when they crossed the sea. Page 35, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi chamocha, page 36. Mi chamocha ba'el im Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh. Nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים זה ליענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. And on page 38 we have a blessing for protection. And now for this time that redemption has not yet come, lay us down to rest and sleep in protection, and spread over us your sukkah, your shelter of shalom, of peace. Let's see, where is the third line? Ufros aleinu sukkot, sukkot, shalomecha, ufros aleinu sukkot, sukkot, shalomecha. Now I'm skipping to the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukkot shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Please rise in body or in spirit as you're able on page 40 for Shabbat. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Page 130, and we continue with our Amidah, our personal prayer, which we will begin together for the first three blessings, and the prayer for the ability to pray that precedes them. Adonai sefatai tiftahu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתי הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעללו חסלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue each on our own, either with the Hebrew blessings, the English translations, one of the English options, as we continue until the end of the Amidah on page 152, I believe it is. on page 148, the blessing for peace. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki אתה מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה מלך אדון לכל השלום. Back to the beginning. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב של ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. All right. We're not reading Torah because it's Friday night, but I thought I'd share something with you, which has a way I could tie this into the Torah if I really wanted to, but the day that's just passing, over there we're going into Shabbat, but the Friday that we're just leaving in your Jewish calendar has a little designation. It's called Lag BaOmer. Have you ever seen there's a meme on Jewish holidays that like just, you know, Day 33 for some reason. That's what it's called. It's day 33 of the Omer. What's day 33 of the Omer? So who knows something about what Lag BaOmer is? What do you know about Lag BaOmer? Let's throw this. Yeah, throw out. What do you know about Lag BaOmer? Like, what are your associations with Lag BaOmer? One thing. Rabbi Akiva. What another thing to do with Lag BaOmer? Barbecue. Great. What else do we know about Lag BaOmer? Any other associations? Haircutting. What other associations with Lag BaOmer? Yes, haircutting. Yeah, absolutely. Other associations with Lag BaOmer? Some huge crowds in somewhere in Israel where there are so many crowds that sometimes they kill people because this like things go bad and there are too many people and some disaster happened a few years ago and it was on Lag BaOmer. What? Weddings. It's the only day in the Omer when weddings are allowed is Lag BaOmer, right? But why? If you ask why Hanukkah, it was like the Maccabees. If you ask why Purim, Esther. If you ask why, I mean, most Jewish holidays, you know, you'll know. If you ask why this, well, it says in the Torah, but like Lag BaOmer, like it's the 33rd day of the Omer. What's the significance of the 33rd day of the Omer? Now, if you think that like I'm a bad Jew, I don't know this, let me say that the reason I wanted to talk about why Lag BaOmer today is because I didn't know the answer. And I had a smattering. Maybe I knew like bows and arrows. That was the other thing. In Israel, bows and arrows along with the bonfires. The barbecues are come out of the bonfires, right? And nobody mentioned Bar Kochva. And nobody mentioned Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, those are the other things that like were in my head flying around, like has something to do with these things. So what is Lag BaOmer? So what do I do when I have a basic question like this? I'm trying to put together the various things that are in my head. I Google things in Hebrew, right? And because I know that, well, I'll get in Israel from Israeli sources, from all Hebrew sources, there's probably a little bit more. And what I got was a podcast which went through exactly this exercise. It said, Israelis, nobody knows what Lag BaOmer is. So we brought in an expert to tell us what Lag BaOmer is about, right? So this is what Lag BaOmer is. So first of all, Omer. What's the Omer to begin with, right? So Omer is sheaves of wheat, exactly. So the Omer is the sheaves of wheat. The whole Passover, this made perfect sense when I was a kid in Israel, because at our Passover Seder, we have little kids coming in with green sheaves of wheat. By Passover, the wheat is fully grown, wheat or barley more likely historically, but those 5 grains that you can't have on Passover, right? That's what we're talking about. Wheat, barley, oats, spelt. What? So they would come in with these green sheaves of wheat, and then they stand in the fields for 7 weeks, turning yellow, right, before they're ready to harvest. So this is that time. It's actually a scary time. Anybody read, which one is the Little House books? Where Little House in the Prairie, it was not Little House in the Prairie, it was one of the ones after that, right, where he bought wheat. He had enough money to buy wheat, and he had a wheat field, and he was so excited, and the wheat was coming in. It was beautiful, and they were going to be able to afford all sorts of things now, and then locusts showed up. No, fire. Was it locusts and fire? It was like locusts and fire, right? That just wiped out the wheat crop. So you have your wealth is just sitting out there in the open. So it's a very tenuous time from an agricultural period, right? So it's actually not surprising that this period between when it's ripe, almost, when it's like fully formed, and when it's actually ripe and ready to harvest, is a period of some sort of a heightened ritual prayer period, right? So in the Torah, it says, from the day after the Shabbat, the Sabbath that marks the beginning of Passover, you will count 7 whole weeks. And on the day after that, the 50th day, you will have another holiday. So that is what Shavuot means. Shavuot means weeks. It's the festival of weeks. What weeks? That's almost as weird as the 33rd day for some reason. But that we can point at it, that's in the Torah, right? It's 7 weeks after Passover. You have that. By the way, the Christians have it too. They call it Pentecost. Penta, 50, right? 5, right? And we can talk about Shavuot another time. But we're day 33 of that counting to 50. So what's the significance of that? Well, it's not in the Torah. It's not in the Bible at all, right? But that's okay. Neither is Hanukkah, right? It's not in the Bible at all either. But Lag BaOmer comes from later, because Lag BaOmer actually comes from the period of the Mishnah, right? The beginning of the Talmud, like after the destruction of the temple. It says in the Talmud that 2,400, 1,200 pairs of students of Rabbi Akiva died during the Omer, right? And that is one of the things that we get hung on it, that the Omer is kind of a period of mourning. You don't have weddings during the Omer, and you don't cut your hair during the Omer, right? If you know somewhat observant Jews, sometimes will grow a beard during the Omer. But on Lag BaOmer, you can cut your beard. A lot of observant Jews, especially of the mystical bent, will come to that moment, will cut three-year-old boys for the first time on hair on Lag BaOmer. So they'll let their hair grow long. My kid's hair is long because on Lag BaOmer, when he turned 3, wasn't like we didn't wait for Lag BaOmer, but when he turned 3, we cut his bangs, and then we didn't want to cut the rest of his hair, and then he liked his hair too, so he grew his bangs back out, and forever he's had long hair since then. But that's where it started. We planned not to cut his hair till he was 3. That's the thing. Lag BaOmer is often when that gets done. So they died. These students died. What did they die of? And what about Lag BaOmer? They died of a plague, it says somewhere. One tradition says. They died of a plague, and the plague stopped on Lag BaOmer. So that's why we celebrate. That's why some people will cut their hair or shave beginning on Lag BaOmer and for the rest of the Omer. I don't know about weddings. You can think, some people say it's only on Lag BaOmer. I think other people say you can have weddings from after Lag BaOmer and after, right? So this, the more strict is that it's only on Lag BaOmer that you're allowed to do that. Why did they die? They died. There are two answers to why they died. One of them is that they died of a plague, and it was a magical plague. And why were they dying of a plague? Because they didn't, that's why this pairs of students, the Chavruta students, they didn't respect each other enough. So they died. It's really odd. We'll come back to that in a moment. The other thing about why they died, and this brings you into another piece of Lag BaOmer, is they were followers of Bar Kokhba. Maybe they were only students of Rabbi Akiva in as much as they were soldiers in Bar Kokhba's rebellion against the Romans. And this was a failed rebellion, right? It was a very failed rebellion. In fact, it's the failure of the Bar Kokhba rebellion that then causes the Romans to clamp down on the rabbis. And it was then pushes the rabbis to write down the oral Torah, the oral law, which is the Mishnah, right? Because the rabbis supported this rebellion. And from there you get the bows and arrows, right? The tradition of bows and arrows. And in fact, some early Zionist poets like Sternachowski wrote, and I think Jabotinsky wrote some poems and things about Bar Kokhba, the Jewish rebel, right? And this time we'll be successful and glorified. So that's why in Israel you have bonfires and kids running around with bows and arrows in memory of Bar Kokhba, right? And there's also stories of Bar Kokhba and a lion, taming a lion, riding a lion. That's how that all gets tied in. They say that the bonfires were a symbol, it's our signal, like the military would signal each other with bonfires, right? So there you have that connection. But there's another piece. What's with all those? What's with Shimon Bar Yochai, who is a student of Rabbi Akiva's, who Rabbi Akiva raises after this. He raises 5 students, and one of them was Shimon Bar Yochai. He is not only an important rabbi in the Talmud in the Mishnah period, he is an important rabbi in the mystical tradition, because he is essentially the hero of the book of the Zohar, the book of splendor, from which we get basically the most central book of Kabbalah. And Shimon Bar Yochai, it said, died on Lag BaOmer. So why is it a party? One thing is that rabbis who have passed away are usually celebrated not on their birthdays, but on their yahrzeits. And in the Zohar, when they tell of his passing, they say, he says, you should celebrate this. You should celebrate this occasion of basically him ascending. And when he died, the light he was called like Butzina Nehora, Butzina Kadisha, the holy lamp, is one of the things that he's called. And when he dies, his light sort of fills the entire room. It's another thing where you get the bonfires from, this thing of light. And you also get that pilgrimage, because that pilgrimage that they make is to the burial place of Shimon Bar Yochai, who, remember, people who know their history about the Zohar was actually probably written in the 14th century in Spain, but it takes place in 2nd century Israel. And Bar Yochai was a character. He was buried there in the Galilee. He is the rabbi who has the laser eyes. Who has read the story about? You've read the story about the laser eyes, right? He and his son are running away from the Romans, right? And they hide in a cave for an entire decade and study Torah. And when they come out, they just cannot bear the fact that people are going about their daily lives and studying Torah instead of studying Torah. And everywhere they see burns up, right? And a bat kol, a voice, comes out and says, you come out of your cave to destroy my world? Go back in your cave. And so they go back in their cave for another year, just like the period of saying Kaddish, and they come out, and Rabbi Shimon's son is not able to resist burning things up. But Bar Yochai, by this point, has absorbed something. He is able to see the value in the world as it is, and every place that his son's eyes burn up, Bar Yochai is able to heal. Now you see, this fire symbol around Lag BaOmer is starting to make sense, isn't it, right? The interesting thing is, what is today in the counting of the Omer? Now, there's a traditional accounting in the Omer of the 7 weeks, 7 times 7, the 7 symbols that we've been studying in our Kabbalah class. Each week is symbolized by one of these 7 symbols, and each day is symbolized by one of the 7 symbols. So you have this combination of 2 symbols for each day. Well, the 33rd day is Hod Shebehod, is humility in humility, or splendor in splendor, right? Hod has that. We talked earlier, those people who were in the class, we talked about these combined 2 symbols, the splendor and the humility. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai embodied the 2 of those, right? The splendor and humility, right? And so let's take back to Akiva students not respecting each other enough, right? Perhaps they were studying with each other. This is symbolic of whether it's them as students or them as soldiers, right? Were they each trying to be the one, to be better than everybody else? They weren't able to find the humility to work together properly, right? Yes, there you go. And then the lab experiment blew up, right? And this is what we learned from that. So something perhaps we can learn from Lag BaOmer, right? From the fires. The parsha includes the line of the Ladlik Ner Tamid, to light a fire, an eternal flame, is mentioned in this parsha, right? This idea of an eternal flame that you are always lighting, that you are always holding. But it needs to be a flame that's not the sort of flame that consumes, right? But it's rather a splendor flame of humility, a flame that recognizes and accepts the world as it is, as being an essential part of that balance. And that's a little bit about Lag BaOmer. There is no neat answer. Yeah. And so especially fun for people who've been taking the class on the Kabbalah, because suddenly all these symbols are starting to make sense, right? All right. We are going to invoke Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's power of healing. And page 175, say a blessing, say some prayers for healing. And I will, as I do every Shabbat, on Saturday mornings we do it in front of the open Torah. Are we fully functional? Are there people at home? If you have somebody you want to have on the list, please put it in the chat. And Rosemary will read it for us when we get this. So I have a list here. After the first verse, I will read out the list, and then page 175. But my list is only here. I have a list of people in need of healing, and then if any name that I haven't mentioned, please read out. And if there's any name you would like me to mention, even when you're not here, please let me know, and I'll add them to the list. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Some of the people we're sending healing to healing thoughts to today, this Shabbat, include Joyce Fox, Wendy Kleinfaller, Roy Liederman, Rosalea Bat Rivka, Rose Edelman, Judy Freed, Arvine Peckman, Janet Press, Jordan Montero, Jackson Schwartz, Ethel Backman, Judith Laro, Jason Moda, Lisa Bullman, David Gay, Lisa Diaz, Elsie Diaz, Mary McKenzie, Bill McKenzie, Stacy Gay, Soros Batlea, Chavadina Batsura, Gina Matulski, Shanvil Batlabel Vikela, Aaron Curry, Chris Lombardi, Barry Maltis, Steve Fahey, Dietra Reese, Levana Yael Bat Avram Avinu Visarai Menu, Kathy Hatch, Sue Delaney, Esther Bat Gladys Naftali, John Raymond and family, Rivka Perl Bat Chana, and Lee Trachtenberg, Matt Siegel, Gabrielle Maya, Elliot Becker, Sholem Meir, Ben Beryl Vester, Samantha Modest, Sima Bela Bat Esther, Lishira Yosefa Bakotel Avigail, Avigail Bat Ari, Reza Liba Bat Rachel, Israel Yaakov Ben Shmuel Meira, Ken Perry, Shelley Sherman Taylor, Herbert Hill, Stacy Taylor, Gail Trotner, Bill Walker, Carol Ann and Phil Sauter, Susan and Paul Steinberg, Lois and Frank Barrow, Peg Smith and Margaret Moroff, other people. Sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We'll take that towards the conclusion of our service. Page 187 at the top. It is up to us, it is incumbent upon us to praise the founder of all, the foundation of all. Please rise as you are able for the Aleinu. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula leotzer breshit, shehu note shamayim veyosed aretz, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Top of page 189. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Remain standing as we join in a community of mourning and remember people in our community whose yahrzeits are this time of year, along with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. In the coming week, though, today is May 17th, right? Rose Ashapa, Joseph Shine, Mayor Faber, Dr. Michael Goldstein, Ruben Arcanez, Rebecca Morgan. Are there other names we should mention? And take those names and all who don't have somebody to say Kaddish for them, and recite together or in the responses, as is your practice, on page 193. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol bet Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birachata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Shvet Tevel v'imru amen. We have announcements.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Tomorrow morning, the 18th of May, Sisterhood meeting at 10 o'clock in the vestry. Sunday, I'm sorry.
Right, it is Shabbat, but it is not Saturday yet.
We have lunch and learn on the 19th at 12 o'clock. And the book discussion of the Star on the Shamrock has been changed to June 17th. And we have services next Shabbat at 9:30.
All right.
Anybody have anything else?
Go Celtics. There we go. Shalom Aleichem is on page 20. Let's conclude with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom. We'll say goodbye to the people at home, and we're going to go downstairs and have some Kiddush.